In the first scenes, we see a girl panicking as she runs out of a house. It's winter outside, and the girl is only wearing a light nightgown. Someone from the house was begging her not to leave them here. However, the girl couldn't stay and rushed to escape. Kristen works in publishing as a PR agent. Right now everyone is talking about the story of a mother and daughter reuniting after the daughter had been missing for several years. A book was written based on this story. Anne, Kristen's assistant, is sure this will be a sensation. The only thing Kristen dislikes is the book's ending, which is overly happy. In real life such endings are rare. Kristen, who had also experienced personal tragedy, copes by taking sedatives. She never stops thinking about the fateful day her daughter Olivia disappeared. Kristen would give anything to have the daughter back. She is tormented by nightmares. To keep herself from losing her mind, Kristen immersed herself in work. Perhaps this book will inspire many parents whose children are missing, but many facts have been embellished for the sake of a good storyline. Kristen suggested Anne rewrite the last 2 chapters, but she thought it was a bad idea. What matters most is what the public wants to see. After receiving an unexpected call, Kristen nearly fainted from shock. She immediately went to the police station. Missing Olivia had been found. The girl had escaped from the house where she had been held but now couldn't point out where it was. Kristen wanted to see the daughter immediately, as did her ex-husband Justin. Detective Simmons assured that they would see Olivia as soon as she spoke with a social worker and psychiatrist. For now, the detective wanted to speak with Olivia's parents. The police believed there were 4 other girls besides Olivia. Seeing her daughter through the door of the next room, Kristen couldn't think of anything else. 6 years had passed since Olivia's disappearance. She was no longer the little girl Kristen and Justin had lost. Finally the parents and daughter were reunited. After all these years, Olivia returned home where not much had changed. Kristen didn't know how to act. Olivia found it strange to see her childhood photos. Kristen really regretted not seeing her daughter grow up. Now she didn't know how to communicate with her. Unlike his ex-wife, Justin remained calm. As a doctor he was used to working under stress. Now they both had to stay strong for their daughter, who had been through so much. When the parents brought Olivia lemonade, she disappeared again. They searched the house in a panic. It turned out Olivia had forgotten where her room was and had fallen asleep in the living room. In honor of the daughter's return, the former spouses opened a bottle of expensive wine. Their 6-year nightmare was finally over. Now it was their duty to help Olivia adapt to normal life. All these years, both Kristen and Justin had tried to accept the fact that they might never see their daughter again. This was largely what led to their divorce. Justin wanted to stay at Kristen's house that night, but he knew he shouldn't. Kristen couldn't sleep, afraid that she would wake up and find it was all just a dream. Olivia, however, couldn't sleep either. The next morning, Kristen went into the living room and didn't see the daughter, which made her anxious. Olivia was already in the kitchen and wished her mother good morning. Kristen took a day off from work, wanting to spend all her free time with the daughter. Upon learning that her father wasn't here, Olivia became upset. The mother promised that he would be back soon. The girl barely touched her breakfast. Neither mother nor daughter knew how to behave after their long separation. Of course Kristen had kept all the daughter's belongings. What Kristen cherished most was Olivia's diary and her favorite teddy bear. Most of Olivia's things had been stored in the basement because the grieving mother had tried to shut off her emotions. Olivia said she wanted to go back upstairs because the basement made her feel uncomfortable. Justin, who had arrived, was happy to see the 2 people he loved most smiling. He had brought lunch. Olivia was deeply touched that the father hadn't forgotten her favorite dish. They had lunch together, just like old times. Suddenly Justin grabbed the daughter's hand because she almost ate a shrimp, to which she was allergic. This caused Olivia to run upstairs and lock herself in the room. The parents were very worried about their daughter's state, but Olivia replied through the door that everything was fine. She had reacted that way because the kidnapper often grabbed them. Hearing this, Kristen barely held back her emotions. Justin apologized to his daughter for not protecting her back then. Olivia opened the door. They all embraced. It had been a long day, and Olivia needed rest. To avoid upsetting their daughter, the ex-spouses decided that Justin would stay the night. Kristen was glad to have her ex-husband around. It had been so lonely in that house all those years. Justin felt the same, so thoughtfully had took some of his belongings with him. They both knew that Olivia still hadn't remembered where she had been held all this time. The police were now focusing all their efforts on finding the other girls. Kristen had stopped taking sedatives because her life was finally getting back on track. While Justin slept, Olivia walked around near his room. Then she lay down next to her mother. Kristen flinched from surprise. Of course she didn't mind if her daughter wanted to sleep here. Olivia shared that she was haunted by nightmares about that sinister basement. Kristen promised her daughter that she would be safe from now on. The next day, Kristen called Anne to tell her everything was going well. Anne was very happy to hear this. Kristen worried that the colleagues might not manage without her, but Anne assured that everything was under control. After the call ended, Anne had an idea. Kristen overheard Justin in the kitchen asking their daughter to remember where the other girls were. Olivia quickly changed the subject, saying she wanted to go shopping for new clothes. Detective Simmons stopped by and asked Olivia to recall the day of her escape. Obviously it was difficult for Olivia to talk about it, but the other girls' fates depended on it. Olivia only remembered that after escaping the house, she found herself in a forest. It was some kind of farm with paved paths. Detective Simmons noted that there were no farms with paved roads nearby. When the detective started asking for more details, Olivia said she didn't want to relive that nightmare and refused to continue the conversation. The girl locked herself in the room. The mother patiently waited outside the door. Later, the girl shared that she didn't trust her own memory. Perhaps the road hadn't really been paved. Justin suggested they all play a game. Psychologists had recommended it to help restore memory. Despite the parents' efforts, Olivia couldn't get rid of the thought that they were no longer a family. The parents' divorce really hurt the girl, though it didn't make them love her any less. Later, they all went shopping together. Then while Olivia enjoyed the snow, the ex-spouses discussed the morning conversation. Justin felt guilty for pressuring the daughter, but he just could not ask about the other girls. Their conversation was interrupted by Olivia, who knew they were talking about her. At home, Olivia was called out by Beth, her childhood friend. Olivia didn't immediately recognize the person from her past. Kristen and Justin invited Beth inside. Of course the girls couldn't talk like they used to. The former spouses decided not to interfere. And although Kristen was very anxious, Justin was sure it would be good for their daughter. Beth gave Olivia a small gift, as well as gifts from the other girls on the gymnastics team. This made Olivia smile, if only for a moment. Beth couldn't help but note how much Olivia had changed. Kristen and Justin are trying to come to terms with the fact that their daughter has grown up. They had waited so long for her return, but it will take time for her to adapt. Suddenly Kristen received a call from Anne. When Beth asked Olivia if she would return to school, the girl replied that she didn't want to hear any questions from others. Moreover, Olivia was extremely irritated by Beth's pitying looks. Confused, she left, and told Kristen that she wanted to fill the gap in the fall calendar with her and Olivia's story. Seeing Beth leave, Kristen hung up the phone. Olivia acted as if nothing had happened. Justin caught up with Beth on the street and asked what had happened. In tears, Beth said that Olivia had said nasty things to her. Beth also didn't believe that the girl was really Olivia. She had changed too much. It turned out that Olivia had already told the mother her version of the conflict with Beth. But the father knew that the truth was different. Justin shared his doubts with the ex-wife. He was convinced that Olivia was hiding something, but Kristen disagreed. Their conversation was interrupted again by Olivia. Her behavior was becoming stranger. It seemed like everything between mother and daughter was fine. They had become close again, just like before. Olivia screamed from a nightmare, waking her parents. They began to comfort their daughter, repeating that she was home. The next day, the father suggested that Olivia talk to Detective Simmons again. However, the girl no longer wanted to relive the past. The mother supported her in this. Kristen had to step away for an important work call. This gave Justin a chance to talk to his daughter alone. He started asking her again about the other girls. Clearly Olivia didn't like it. Meanwhile, Anne said that the daughter of the woman who wrote the book had also gone missing 6 years ago, only to reappear out of nowhere. It was too good to be true. Olivia told her father that she wanted to forget those events forever, no matter what others expected from her. Kristen didn't know how to react to what she had just heard. Olivia went for a walk to clear her head. When Kristen learned that Justin had let the daughter go out alone, she panicked and was about to follow her. But Justin stopped his ex-wife, claiming that this girl was not their daughter. That meant Olivia still needed help. Beth was walking with her friends, and as she returned home alone in the evening, Olivia blocked her way. While Kristen searched for the daughter by car, Justin went around the neighborhood. They stayed in constant contact. Finally Kristen found Olivia on a bridge and told her to never run away from home again. For some reason Olivia's jacket was dirty. The girl burst into tears, saying she had abandoned the others for the chance to return home. Now she just wanted the parents to love her. Kristen hugged the daughter. They returned home. Olivia didn't want to talk to her father. Kristen didn't know what to say. Justin found it strange that Olivia's jacket was tattered. Kristen suggested that she and her ex-husband might be developing paranoia. But Justin insisted on a DNA test. That way, they would know for sure if this girl was really their Olivia. That night, Kristen looked at a childhood photo of the daughter. Olivia's sudden appearance startled her. Olivia intended to stay here, as she had every night before. Kristen could barely hide her subconscious fear. The next day, Detective Simmons came to their house and asked Justin for an urgent conversation. Later, Justin told his wife about the attack on Beth the previous day. It was Olivia who had done it. Their conversation was interrupted by the girl, who invited her mother to go shopping, but without her father. Justin wanted to go with them, but it was clear he wasn't welcome. Kristen suggested they take a walk in the park, as Olivia used to love winter. The girl responded that it wasn't true. Still, they went for a walk. Kristen reminisced about how her daughter used to love this place. They had a frank conversation. Kristen said that losing a child is every parent's worst nightmare. Kristen hoped these words would make this girl tell the truth, but that didn't happen. When Kristen mentioned how Olivia used to love walking in this park with Uncle Lucas, the girl started to smile. But in reality, Olivia had no Uncle Lucas. And the real Olivia would have remembered that she was kidnapped from this very park 6 years ago. Kristen realized that this girl was one of those held captive by the same stranger. Now Kristen's only concern was whether her daughter was still alive. The girl said she didn't know and asked Kristen to take her home right away. The girl's real name was Natalie. The press never mentioned her disappearance because no one knew she was missing. Natalie never knew her mother, only her father. Kristen was sure that he would be happy to have his daughter back. They arrived at the given address. At that moment, Natalie revealed that it was her father who had kept the girls in this house, including Olivia. Natalie called him father because she had lived in that house since she was 5 and helped him. Hearing this, Kristen was horrified. Natalie couldn't be sure if Olivia was still alive. The day before her escape, the so-called father had taken Olivia somewhere. That's why Natalie decided to pretend to be her. The girl noticed that the truck was gone, which meant the father had left. Seeing a black truck parked near the house, Justin thought it was no good and went to the showdown. Suddenly Ann stepped out of the truck, introducing the driver as Jared, a writer. Taking advantage of the owner's absence, Kristen and Natalie planned to break into the house. Natalie knew the kidnapper changed the door code every day, today's date in reverse. Natalie and Kristen entered. The place was very gloomy. The girls who had spent many years there were waiting to be rescued, but none of them knew where Olivia was. Hearing the sound of an engine, Kristen realized they needed to leave immediately and call the police. However, Kristen's motherly instinct told her that Olivia was nearby. And her intuition was right, she found Olivia in the garage. The girl looked emaciated and bore a striking resemblance to Natalie. Mother and daughter embraced for a long time. Natalie was sad that no one was waiting for her. However, Natalie refused to leave with Kristen and Olivia, believing that the man she considered her father loved her. But that wasn't the case. The man started accusing his pseudo-daughter of being ungrateful, calling her a traitor. Kristen couldn't leave Natalie here and stood up for her. She no longer feared the man who had taken 6 years of her life. At that moment Olivia sneaked up behind him and knocked him out with a shovel. Natalie followed her lead. All the bad things were now behind them. Natalie said she had nowhere to go. Kristen replied that wasn't true. John Aldous, who had held 6 victims all this time, was arrested. A year later, Olivia was still haunted by nightmares, but with the family's support, she was doing much better. Olivia even returned to school. And by the way, Kristen and Justin remarried. Now Natalie is also their daughter. Kristen is planning to publish a book about this remarkable story.